brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask the Paul, where we rise and don't fall.
Welcome back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Now, today I have a special guest. He's a friend. He is a serial entrepreneur. He's also the president and CEO of Junior Achievement of Southeastern Michigan. Jason Lee, welcome to Baxter's Buzz.
Well, thank you, Baxter, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Looking forward to this conversation all week.
Yeah. It's one of those things you look on the calendar and go, oh, this is going to be a good one. The people that I love to have on are people that I have really good rapport with in general. And there's always gems and jewels that people can take away. And it's like, you know what? I wonder who would have benefited from a couple of those things. So I'm glad we're recording today. Just want to learn more about what you have going on and hopefully, you know, give junior achievement specifically some more exposure. So speaking of, why don't we start there? Talk about junior achievement, the history, and sort of what you all mission is.
So, Junior Achievement is the sixth largest nonprofit in the world. We are the largest nonprofit that works with young people to give them life skills, primarily in the areas of financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and career readiness. We were founded we actually, this year will be 105 years of junior achievement in the country.
Wow.
It's crazy. We were founded by a U.S. senator and the CEO of AT&T back in 100 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so the organization was designed to create the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs for the country. And a lot of our baby boomers or parents or grandparents remember Junior Achievement because we have facilities all over the city and all over the community where kids would come after school to learn how to create a business. We still run that program today. It's called the JA Company Program. It basically teaches kids the entire business cycle, where writing a business plan, sourcing inventory, creating a product, selling a product, closing a business, paying back shareholders, all the things that entrepreneurs do. That was what JA was known for. And we ran that program for a long time by itself. And then we realized that a lot of young people, to be successful business owners, they need to have good financial literacy skill sets. So we've created a suite of programs around financial literacy for not only high school students, but all the way down to kindergarten. So from kindergarten to 12th grade, we had high school programs that we ran around the financial literacy space, in addition to entrepreneurship. And then our work just continued to morph, and we realized that a lot of young people today, whether they're from a background perspective or just from exposure perspective, don't necessarily know the careers that are available for them within their respective communities. So we created a career programming to expose kids and to prepare kids for the future of work today. Our mission is to inspire and create the next generation of successful young people for a global economy.
And it makes sense, the building block being the entrepreneurial component, right? Because when I think about so many of us, I think in most industries, whether you're working for yourself or not, when you take ownership of the role that you play inside of a larger, or I think there's most of us there's an entrepreneurial, component to it, right? And whether folks go and start their own business or not, there's still real like fundamental pieces that they can take to any role, right?
Yeah, I think that every corporation is looking for people to have the social skills necessary to engage other people, the ability to learn. A company's going to teach you what they want you to know, right? But then also just have that entrepreneurial spirit so that you can think creatively to be successful. So just totally agree with you. And it's really, if you think about America, our ability to innovate, our ability to create new products, to meet the challenges of today is something that we hold in high regard, right? And that has built the economic engine of our country. So.
Yeah. over the years, have you noticed what differences, if any, have you noticed with the young people that are coming through the program? Because everyone has a phone in their hand. Everyone, they say that the kids these days don't have any social skills. Everyone's sort of texting each other, even if they're sitting across from one another. Are you noticing that, and how are you sort of appealing to the young people now that may be a little bit different from years prior?
Oh man, that's a great question. And I have two teenagers. One is actually a freshman in college, and one is a high school junior. And I totally see that. I really think that the pandemic did a disservice to our young people in terms of their socialization skills.
Yeah.
They definitely heavily rely on the technology, which some have embraced, but just as those people dynamics, literally, they can be in a room together watching TV and be on their phones and just chatting along on their phones and
Yeah.
not communicating in person. And they're saying the same things that they would say in person, right?
Yeah.
So it is something that we have to really be conscious of. Um, our audience within junior achievement, we rely heavily on the schools and community-based organizations to get our programs delivered to the young people, because that's where the young people are, right? So working in those confines, we see a lot of change. We see that there's some kids who are in better situations socially than others.
Sure.
And I think a lot of it has to do with how they really went through the pandemic. Some young people didn't see anybody for a year and a half, right? They saw their family, you know, and others actually thrived in those situations, right? So still maintain their athletics or their other programs and things like that. So I definitely see a rift. Interesting enough, when my daughter was applying to college, the colleges actually recognized that a lot of our young people were missing some key components of their social dynamics, and they were trying to support the kids and meet them where they are. So the conversation of meeting kids where they are today is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. My babies are 10 and 7, so it did impact them, but I think the older children probably felt it the most because they already had these friend groups and they were more social. My son at the time wasn't even in kindergarten yet. He was still going to like daycare, right?
Yeah.
So it benefited him because he was at home with his sister who basically became his speech coach. Um, he was a little bit behind speech wise, and she's a little bit ahead of anybody, no matter what age. She was there. She was there. 3 years ago. She's miles ahead of most folks now, um, as far as speaking. So we saw like a jump in his speech, um, but we did see some of the social pieces of my daughter, just really having access to a younger person. He benefited where she maybe stalled in some areas from a socialization standpoint. But yeah, it's amazing to think that it's been going on for 4 years now.
Yeah, man, it's and there's so many different dynamics to that in terms of just the ability, basically, you actually out there opportunity to be flexible, right? To work from home, to do different
Yeah,
things. Imagine those people who cannot do that, right? And basically kids to sit at home latchkey for 2.5 years or so, basically them in the TV and
yeah,
them in the video games. And so there's definitely some challenges there. But the other side of that is that the embracing of technology is also important, right? So we actually just had a conference recently for the presidents of junior achievement throughout the country, and it's 102 offices of JA in the United States, and we had the conversation about AI, right?
mm,
Someone pointed out that when our kids graduate and they get into the workforce, there'll be an expectation that they have the ability to utilize AI just like we had the ability to utilize email. So
mhm,
how do you use these tools? When do young people get exposed to these tools? Beyond just the chat GPT and writing a term paper, there's other sources and things that have the ability the AI is kind of going to be the new frontier in that space.
yeah,
Now, in my background, I'm an engineer by degree. and I used to work at Ford as an engineer. And just the ability, I think the ramp of the technology and its ability to make a difference and be utilized by people and readily available, it's just incredible right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the phones are the tool to get you access, and it's so much out there. But how do we expose our kids to it, right?
Yeah.
That the kid, we have to have and have not communities. We have the schools that embrace technology, and then we have the schools that are afraid of it, right? So there's a whole conversation there, and the utilization within our ecosystem, and also in the Black community, just being
Yeah.
really out, right? We're oftentimes either the first to adopt or the last, and depending on the technology. So,
Hmm.
how do we get grandma to use Chat GPT?
Right. Right. I, you bring up a really good point about the access. Um, when I think about, it's one of those things that's not going away. And we can, hey, we don't want this. Hey, you could turn your back to it for only so long. Us that are in the workforce right now, but the folks that are incoming, it's going to be mandatory. I was at an event this week and they were talking about someone said that they're being saved 20 to 30 hours a week using AI. And if people don't get in with the times and sort of embrace this technology, they're going to be set back just from what opportunities they'll have access to in the workforce, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was at the mall and they had a Tesla display, right? And the car was cool, but what I was fascinated about was they had a robot that came from the Tesla factory that was doing consistent, repetitive work in the factory.
Mhm.
So they actually incorporate robotics in the factory, and this robot looked like something out of iRobot, the movie with Will Smith.
Yeah,
And I mean, it was incredible. It had fingers, it had arms, it had legs, it moved. It was dynamic in this work. And you think about that, and you think about historically the jobs, particularly in Detroit, which were
sure.
heavily manufacturing, heavily industrial, heavily repetitive work on an assembly line. And now you have robots that have taken some of those positions, right?
Yeah.
So how do we prepare? And this is one of the things that Junior Achievement looks to do is how do we expose and prepare young people for those future careers, right? What going to the plant is still an option, but it looks very different today, right? So, learning about the different careers in insurance, right? And that was one of the reasons why we partnered with NAAIA as Junior
Mhm.
Achievement, is to expose primarily African American students and young people to the different careers in the insurance industry. And we have a national partnership with NAIA, but locally we've been doing some great work in that space
Yeah.
because some of the opportunities that are there, you don't need a college degree for.
Mhm.
Historically, generationally, Blacks that were barred from a lot of the great opportunities in the insurance industry. And so now, how do we open those opportunities up to young people, whether it's actually with the brokers or
Mhm.
the consulting firms or whatever the case might be, to actual the people who do the assessments and
Mhm.
the appraisers and things like that. Those people are making money and they're doing
That's
well and they're
right.
living. So,
That's
so
right.
yeah. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, we have crossed paths on a couple of different um, ways. With Kapnick, I know Kapnick had done some work with Jay, or a little bit at least when I had started. But then also with NAIA, the National African American Insurance Association, the Detroit or Michigan chapter. I'm fortunate enough to sit on the executive board, and I mean, JA has been invaluable. I mean, let's be honest. We are approaching our third annual scholarship breakfast, and super proud that you all hosted our first annual breakfast a couple years ago, and I mean, it was a smashing success. So just again, just the importance of making young Black um, children aware of what the industries are available. Like you mentioned, when you think insurance, or when I thought insurance growing up, you thought the insurance man, right? It was like selling life insurance. And you don't have to be in sales in order to be in the insurance industry, right? We have IT, we have HR, we have these brilliant people that are, part of underwriting, and they are doing some really cool things, but they just may not know that these avenues are available to them. So the work that we do, I mean, it's like, hey, exposing young people to, hey, here are things, here's a skill set that you have. You probably didn't know that this could be applied into this type of role in this industry that's been pretty darn stable over the years, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So so one of your colleagues actually, Gerald says, the insurance industry is consistent even in economic challenges, right? So, everybody's got to have it. You got a product, right?
Yeah.
So there's something there. So we're excited to work with NAAIA. We're excited to continue our partnership. And what Junior Achievement does, it provides opportunities for corporations that are interested in engaging young people in a meaningful way. So we spend a lot of time working with organizations like Capnic, like some of the other insurance agencies and consulting firms, to say, hey, if you want to engage kids, here's an opportunity, here's a program, here's a resource, and let's make it happen. We provide all the training materials. And we have a facility downtown Detroit that you can come to, or we can coordinate with going to a school. Even virtually, there's some opportunities. So that's one of the big things that we work on.
Yeah. When you talk about the opportunities to volunteer, I mean, like I said, our lines have crossed, between me trying to get you into, some principles and some folks that I know from that sort of local level. Again, the NAAIA piece, the Capnic piece. But talk about just volunteer wise, like how can people get more involved? How can um how can organizations, big or small, just contribute to, to the JA mission? And they don't need to have a group of 10 or, what if they're just, what if one person wants to, can you speak to, like, from a scale of one person wants to come out and contribute and volunteer for a day, or see how they can help, versus like what an organization may be able to do?
Absolutely. So we have on our programs team our volunteer engagement manager. His name is Scott. He'd be happy to talk to anybody around volunteering. So if you're an individual who wants to come out and volunteer, we would probably recommend you engaging either at our JA Finance Park, which is amongst other volunteers, or let's just say you have a child in school. We can provide you our materials that you could actually facilitate in your child's class. So that's another way that we have a lot of companies, individuals volunteer. A lot of people get community service hours as part of their employment. So we take advantage of that, and we can actually align and to many of the corporate social responsibility needs that many companies have mandated. But if you want to come as a group, we oftentimes have divisions that will come. So let's just say the accounting division at a company wants to do something together as a team building exercise.
Mm.
Well, we can work with you to make that happen where you're engaging young people in a meaningful way. We have some companies that actually come and volunteer together with their customers, which is really interesting, because some companies kind of frown on going to the sporting games and stuff like that. But if you're saying you're going to come volunteer together, then oftentimes you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. And it just also is a great way for you to get a chance to get to know some of your customers and things like that. I know a lot of our salespeople are really excited about those type of opportunities.
Well, everyone is interested in going out and watching, the games. Um, Everyone, doesn't have, they don't want to, have a happy hour, or do anything in the evenings, quite frankly. But like you said, from a corporate standpoint, the salespeople may be able to bring some of their clients out, some of their prospective clients, build real rapport, and really do something that is really meaningful in their community in a way that is unique in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're a very well known brand within many of the corporate circles. So Uh, Several of our companies have some national partnerships and collaborations, even in the insurance industry. So, there's ways to do it. So if you're an adult, if that wants to engage and make a difference in the lives of young people within our community or even nationwide, as this podcast is can be received anywhere, then I would definitely encourage you to just identify the JA office in your area, and I'm sure they'd be happy to have you volunteer.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, you do such a great job because I mean, when I think about a CEO of a nonprofit, I mean, so much of your job is behind the scenes, but so much of it also was like, front facing, recruiting, fundraising, and you do a fantastic job. And um, I want you to just, if you could talk about the really turnkey type of volunteer opportunity. Like it's not, as you put it, it's not a very heavy lift for folks if they want to get involved, right?
Right, absolutely. So really, you're sharing your experiences. For instance, at JA Finance Park, what we're asking you to do as a volunteer is really help support a young person going through the simulation that we've put together, and also share your experiences. You share when you were in college and you got a credit card for a pizza and you're still paying on that credit card today, right? At that 26% interest and things like that. So you share those experiences in life, or when a young person has to create their budget and they only have $200 for a car note, and you say, that's not even the gas for the car because, you're trying to get a Land Rover. And so just sharing those real life experiences that you have had with a young person is so invaluable. It brings real life to the curriculum and what they're learning in school, and it's just a great opportunity to give back in a way. And we train you on all the things that we want you to do, and we also have resources there throughout the day to support that. So whether it's working with our kindergarten students or 5-year-olds all the way to 25-year-olds as young adults, there's a space for you to volunteer within JA.
Yeah. I'm not working with no kindergartners, man. My son is 7, and I don't even want to work with him. But the older kids, I'm there. I'm there.
Yeah.
This has been great. I really want to just say, from a NAAIA standpoint, we really appreciate the partnership. We have to figure out ways to coordinate and collaborate even more, in my opinion. The work that you all do in the community, the work that you continue. I see you and some of your team members kind of everywhere that I am. And just kudos to the true building blocks of America, the entrepreneurial piece, the financial piece, and the pieces that haven't always been really rolled out or uh, introduced to the minority communities. I mean, let's be honest. The finance world, the insurance world is very white, male dominated, and I think that there's some incredible talent from all diverse backgrounds. But it's nice to see these spaces, being being discovered by young people from backgrounds they maybe wouldn't have had to access prior.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to help. We're ecstatic with the partnership with your organization, with NAAIA, and with other agencies throughout the area. There is so much more that we can do. Our young people need to see adults like yourself engaged and actively participating in their development. We're here to help with that, and there's so many different resources that we provide. Whether you have an hour a day or a half hour, or even a full day, we're here to help and support. And no matter if you're at a big company or small company, or even an entrepreneur, or even if you're doing the gig economy, there's a place for you to support and volunteer through JA.
Yeah, and lend your experience. Everyone's experience is valuable and can help a young person. Um, it's not cookie cutter, right? It's very, very fluid. Jason, thank you so much for spending some time. This has been great. I know that this is a passion of yours, and I just want to do what we can. Anybody that's listening or watching, there are opportunities, really uh not really, large commitments where we can go out, help these young people get trained up. And if we have young people in the house, um, we can help them along. And dare I say, we may be able to use some of these fundamentals in our own lives as well, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I think all of us who have had some level of success within our professional life have had somebody in our corner to support us and guide us in this space, and we're here to help with creating that next generation of successful business individuals and just young people in general. So we have thriving communities. So happy to help. If you're interested in learning more about JA, just go to our website, www.jamichigan.org. That's the local office that I run. But then our national website is jaja.org, which if you're anywhere in the country can point you in the right direction to a JA office.
Very cool. Very cool. On behalf of Jason, I am Baxter E. I just want to let everyone know that you are all capable. You just need to embrace your own frequency. So until next time, peace, everyone.
Welcome into his brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please subscribe, share, and also hit that notification button as well. Thank you so much.
Financial literacy to authentic Black history. This real rap.